He's going from his phone to his computer. So he should be logging in right now.
Okay. Well, we can, of course, do the pledge while we're waiting for him. So everybody, if you join me with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag
The United States of America.
United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. While we're waiting for Chris, we can go over a couple of the Zoom meeting rules. As everybody knows, been on the Zoom meeting. Please, if you're not already muted, mute yourself. It's impossible to talk and to get anything done if people are cross-talking. If you have a question, when we get to a specific item, use the chat box. Just please let me know that you have a question. I'll go through the questions in the order I get them on a particular issue. Realize anybody that's here, great to see that we have a large group. Chris, welcome. Just going through some of the basics. Great to see a large group. I know there's a lot of stuff everybody's interested tonight. Realize this is not a public hearing. It's not a debate. We're going to take questions and we're going to go over items within a reasonable amount of time, and then we're going to move on. So first things first, Mike, we have the executive session. So
That
those
is correct, Mr. Chairman.
who are waiting for the issues realize that we're going to leave to go into executive session. We're going to come back, hopefully not too long. So I make a motion to go into executive session to discuss strategy regarding potential land acquisition that, if discussed during open session, could have a negative impact on the negotiating position of the town, returning to open session.
Second.
Motion's been duly made and second. A roll call is in order. Mr. Bradley.
Aye.
Mr. Rowland.
Aye.
Mr. Darcy.
Aye.
Unanimous vote to go into executive session, to return to public session at the completion of the executive session.
Okay, folks, we'll be back as soon as we can. Thanks. Bye. All right, is everyone back?
I see everyone, yes.
Okay.
Looks like it.
All right. Chief Tavares, you ready?
I am.
Welcome, Mike DeMayo and Chuck Matter. And Chief Tavares, you're going to give us an overview of what we're doing, right?
Yes, sir. But before I get started, while we have the Harbor Master Department online with us, I'd like to take a moment of silence for Assistant Harbor Master John Toomey, who served the town of Marshfield for the past 14 years. He unfortunately passed away this morning at 8 a.m. at his home. He was in peace, and I just thank him for his service. So if we could take a moment of silence. Thank you. May he rest in peace, and we thank him for his dedication and service to the town of Marshfield.
Rest in peace.
Okay, so accommodations are for those individuals who go above and beyond the call of duty to execute their jobs with professionalism and expertise. This evening, I wanted to highlight two officers whom I respect and felt they risked their lives and went above and beyond the usual scope of their duties. It involves the rescue of two surfers that were in distress on Tuesday, January 5th, 2021 at approximately 3:53 p.m. The two officers are Officer Michael DeMayo, who's our harbor master and was the captain of Marine Unit 1, and his crew member, Assistant Harbor Master Charles Matter. They say that a picture is worth 1,000 words, and I say a video is even better. So play the video, please. Okay, thank you. I'd just like to talk about the incident for a minute. The on-scene weather that day, the winds were from the north at 20 miles an hour. The seas were from steady swells with 10 to 12 foot seas and sets. High tide was at 3:55 p.m. The height of the tide was a 9.39 foot. The sunset was at 4:25 p.m., so it was just about a half an hour before sunset. The water temperature was 44 degrees. The ambient temperature was 33 degrees. And there were coastal flood advisory warnings in effect. Once on scene, they had the two surfers in view. It was challenging to safely get alongside close enough to throw a rescue heave line bag. The surfers did not have surfboards. They had lost them, but they were wearing black wetsuits. The tide was dropping and there were consistent big swells from the east. Note it was not prudent to safely circle around the two surfers at this time. There were big sets of seas, 10 to 12 foot or maybe even larger. They had to reposition and meet the seas before they crested. While this happened, they lost sight of the surfers in the swells. So they had to relocate the surfers again after they got swept away. They had to regain the lost ground from the first approach. While this was happening, another wave washes through and blocks the view of the surfers in the ocean. Once the monster wave clears, they back down within 50 feet so Assistant Matter can toss the rescue heaving line. During this whole evolution, Assistant Matter is on the back deck yelling to the surfers, keeping them calm and hanging on. Assistant Matter deployed the heaving bag on Officer DeMayo's command. Officer DeMayo did not want to throw the heaving line if a big set of waves were building in front of them because the line in the water and not being tended to properly could have hampered the rescue and could have fouled the propulsion and caused the boat to lose power and eventually flip over. Therefore, Officer DeMayo put the boat within throwing distance and only needed one toss. They pulled the line and had the surfers on board relatively quickly. That was the most critical time as Officer DeMayo had to limit steerage and propulsion of the vessel unless absolutely necessary so that it did not hamper getting the victims on board and had to make sure that it kept them away from the twin props. Once the surfers were on board, they noticed the male surfer had a cut at the bridge of his nose and was bleeding. The male felt this was probably because his surfboard split in two and struck him in the face. The blood was visible and obviously had an injury. The female surfer was a bit more shaken up and appeared to be hypothermic. While en route back to the harbor, the female vomited salt water. The surfers did a good job staying close together. However, it was obvious that they were consuming salt water while treading water there. Once on land, they were treated by the Marshfield Fire Department in the back of the ambulance. So I'd like to thank the Marshfield Fire Department as well. This incident shows both officers are an asset to this department and are worthy of a commendation. There is without a doubt in my mind whatsoever that these two officers saved the lives of two people on that day. The conditions were absolutely treacherous, and I don't think the video fully shows the extent of how bad the conditions were. So I'd like to thank them for their efforts in saving two lives this day. I'd also like to commend the many people, the many 911 calls that we got that alerted us to the two surfers that were in trouble. Additionally, I'd like to thank the town administrator, the board of selectmen, and ultimately all the residents of the town of Marshfield who support us in our daily operations, who support our budget and our equipment purchases that we need. But no matter what type of equipment we had, it didn't really matter if we didn't have the skilled captain, Michael DeMayo, and the extensive Coast Guard experience that he has. I don't know anyone else that could have went out there under those conditions and have done what he did with all the things he had to think about. And just an absolutely outstanding job by both these individuals. And I felt that they should be recognized and officially commended in front of the Board of Selectmen. Now, obviously, this is a Zoom, so I would ask that this be done, an official commendation take place at a date sometime in the near future. That's what I have for you, Mr. Bradley.
Thanks, Chief. Great summation. I know we talked about it. I spoke to Mike that night. because the video was pretty hairy when you look at it, but it was actually much worse. I think there was close to 14-foot seas, and when the boat goes in, you can't even see the land. And I don't, I know based on my conversations with Mike and all of you that these people would have never made it. I mean, it was a half hour to dock. They're dressed in black wetsuits. You could barely see them in the video when you're right on top of them. It's my understanding the next available rescue was probably 45 minutes away from the Coast Guard station. Is that right, Mike?
Yeah, probably a helicopter.
So you guys did a great job putting yourselves at risk, at huge risk to get out there. And not only that, I don't think we would have had the boat, Mike, had you not found the grant money to get the right equipment. Am I right?
Right.
Yeah. So we recently upgraded this boat because Mike, we also call him the grant hunter, finds incredible grants for these vessels. And without the equipment, without the staff, without Assistant Harbor Master Chuck Matter, you guys wouldn't have got it done. But I'm really, to say impressed is an understatement. It's really, these people would have been gone without you. So thank you very much for your service. And I'm sure these folks are very thankful when they saw you coming around because they were getting swept out to sea as far as I could tell. So, Mike, I know you're not a man of many words here on these meetings, so you don't have to say anything if you don't want to, but we really appreciate it, and you as well, Chuck.
I thank you guys. Thank you everyone for being on and and all the support. I think the chief covered it very well. We talked about it numerous times, and me and Chuck went through the video quite a few times. We did a hot wash afterwards and talked and what else we could have done and what different. A lot. The reason why I back down, I was in 12, 14 feet of water, sometimes 16, 17 feet of water. The boat draws 3 feet. You calculated the height of the waves. Where they were just outside the surf line, so I couldn't get in between them and the beach without risking our crew, our vessel. So we had to kind of wait out the set, back down, get close enough to them. So it did help. They were being pulled out a little bit, so that kind of helped. But I mean, typically you'd come in between them and make your approach. But I'll go on YouTube and look at all the videos of boats pitch pulling and rolling over. So it's like I said, I don't want to brag and boast, but it's you don't really feel the boat around, but the equipment's the equipment, and that's why we have it. I trust it and have ultimate confidence in the equipment. And it's not really that; it's having the budget to maintain that boat. Because the last thing you want to do is turn the keys and go out and leave the harbor and hope that the engine shut off. So it's not just the operation driving the boat; it's training and the equipment and maintenance. So and I thank the town of Marshall every town meeting and the port security grants, obviously. But it's a port grant, but it's a license boat. So and that day it paid off. So great job. Took one throw, driving with trucks in the back, and he's not even seeing the waves. He's just standing by the 40 heaving line, and he nailed it. So it's pretty good. So captain's only good as his crew. So it worked out flawlessly. So thank you.
Hey, Mike. A great throw, Chuck. Did you want to add anything to that?
Everybody covered it very well. I really couldn't add too much to it, except, thank you for the opportunity to take part in this meeting, and thank you more so for the
I lost the last part of it there, Chuck, but I again really appreciate it. And both of us looks like it looks like a training video. Mike, you said this before. You should use it because it really is great. It's great that you did. So, Chris Rowland, did you have anything you wanted to add?
The boat's equipped with 3 cameras. It has the infrared camera on it, and it has 2 standalone cameras. And that's really all that equipment went on it for 8 years, and we don't really pull a lot of video. Maybe we should start highlighting things that we do in the water. And the chief was adamant, and I say adamant, and I was kind of downplaying it, but he wanted to take all the video, boat cameras, and also security cameras on the jetties, and the one entering the harbor. But it kind of highlighted the response and what we did. I mean, you can turn out the video all day long, but really, it's the picture tells 1,000 words. I think the higher cameras don't really show the wave heights coming because I couldn't even see the jetties come into the harbor. You know, obviously you have on GPS and you see the day marker, but you know, you're also dealing with 2 people behind you. The boat's fogged up, and you're trying to find the right set. It's kind of like wave avoidance. Wave ride back into the harbor. Kind of what we do. So, you know, half the mission is just getting there, but you also got to get home too. So that's kind of where the rubber meets the road. So.
Again, Mike. Chris, did you have anything you wanted to add?
No, just real quickly. I mean, I know we have a full agenda, but I just have to say, one of the things that you really look at in this video are those waves crashing against the rocks and the seawall, and you know, you think about them getting sucked out to sea, but even you know, just as bad or even maybe worse is them being dashed into the rocks. And there's no doubt that you guys saved their lives. I mean, there's just no doubt. I mean, as someone who's been on the ocean in rough seas, and when I say rough seas, 3 to 6 feet waves, we're not talking 13, 14-foot waves. I can tell you it's not a fun place to be. And to have those skill set to be able to maneuver the boat like that and pull those guys out is just amazing. So great work, guys.
Steve.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you both for your bravery and your skills to rescue those surfers. And as our chair pointed out, you know, we had that boat, Mike, because of a grant that you applied for. So I'd say it's certainly already paid for itself. We're very lucky to have you. And I don't know how your wife feels, Mike, but I'd say you're the whole package. So thanks for all that you do for our town.
All right. We're lucky enough to have Senator O'Connor on tonight. Before we do our commendation, Senator, I know you have some comments as well.
Yeah, thank you, Chair Bradley. After I saw that take place, I sent a text to Mike just to say, job well done. You know, Mike and Chuck, just unbelievable job. I think that everything's been said, but, you know, Marshfield's extremely lucky to have Mike and his team. He's not just an unbelievable harbor master in Marshfield, but he's a leader in the whole group of harbor masters throughout the entire state. So, you know, those grants that he's been able to secure and the equipment he's been able to provide to the town is invaluable. And the resources and experience that he brings from the United States Coast Guard, just, you know, top notch. He's a world-class guy. Chuck the same, his whole team. So very proud of the work that you guys were able to do, but not surprised, you know, given how much of how great of an operation you guys run over there. So congratulations. I just wanted to be able to add my support and appreciation for all you do.
Thank
And
you.
at some point, we'll get everyone together and do this commendation ceremony properly, but the Board of Selectmen has a commendation, and I believe Senator O'Connor has a citation, so I'm just going to read it. Commonwealth of Massachusetts, Town of Marshfield, presented by the Board of Selectmen to Harbor Master Michael DeMeo, Assistant Harbor Master Charles Matter. We hereby honor and thank you for your commitment to public safety and commend you for your quick response and exemplary performance during a life-saving water rescue on January 5th, 2021. Witness our hand and seal, the Town of Marshfield, this day, Monday, the 25th of January, 2021. Signed myself, Chris Rowan, and Steve Darcy. And we'll get those to you. And I know that Senator O'Connor has something as well.
Thank you, Michael.
Yeah, to you both, to Mike and to Chuck, we have an official citation from the Senate. Both your names were read into the record to officially thank you and appreciate you in recognition of your heroic life-saving efforts that resulted in the successful rescue of 2 distressed surfers from the cold and dangerous waters off the coast of Marshfield. And we hope that this is not the only recognition that you get from this. This was really incredible. And it goes to show, you know, Harbor Master and the whole department, you know, you think it through and basically you associate it with the summertime, but this goes to show you how important it is year round to be staffed up and to be ready. So congratulations to both of you, Chuck and Mike.
Thank you.
Thank you both. Mike Maresco, did you say we had a date tentative for this?
We do, Mr. Chairman. Saturday, February 13th at 10 o'clock. I'll get something out to the senator, to our representative, and to our congressman. And we'll do it right at the Maritime Center. If it's inclement weather, we can do it inside the garage. There's plenty of space and air circulation with the door open.
All right, sounds good. All right, thank you both. And anybody that wants to go to that ceremony and socially distance outside in the cold is welcome to come. All right. Thank you, everyone. And thanks again, Mike and Chuck. Great job. Thanks, Senator O'Connor. Are you going to hang on, Senator, for the next item? Excellent. So, Mike, I know you got the town administrator's report. Why don't you do that and then roll right into what I think the bulk of the people are here for, the rollout of our COVID-19 vaccination center. And if you don't mind, Senator, I'm sure you have input. Can you hang on for it?
Mr. Chairman, what I might suggest, if it's okay with you, we'll go right into the COVID-19 vaccination.
Yes, roll right into it.
And we'll put my update at the end of the meeting, if that's okay with the board.
That's fine. Go right ahead, Mike.
Okay. So, first off, as folks know that have been watching the Selectmen's meeting, on the Board of Selectmen, I came to them with this idea that we needed to be prepared for COVID-19. I approached them at the beginning of February to appoint a task force, and Selectmen were very supportive. We had a task force, and we were meeting 3 times a week at that time, and then later this fall, when things sort of slowed down, we now meet once a week. And the importance of that is we had a number of our department heads, the Board of Health, Fire, the Police, Senior Center to deal with seniors. And we had all of those minds in one room to really talk about and identify things that needed to be done to protect our residents. Later this summer, when there was talk of the vaccine, I went back to the Selectmen to appoint a subcommittee of the task force called Operation SHOT. Operation SHOT was looking at possibilities of doing vaccinations here in Marshfield for our residents, our seniors, and potentially other people. The fruit of that subcommittee and the task force lent itself to us to create the vaccination center at the fairgrounds. I reached out to the Fair Association, and they were very supportive about having a drive-through clinic there. In order to have this type of program, we needed to have a doctor oversee. Politicians are not doctors. I know my strengths and weaknesses, and we reached out to Dr. Irons. Dr. Irons is the principal of Quincy Pediatric, which has an office here in Marshfield and an office in Quincy. He is our medical doctor of record, and he helped Patrick and I, Phil Tavares, our chief of police, and William Hawking, our retired fire chief, work on the necessary forms to get our application into the Commonwealth. And we did the onboarding, all the necessary work to get us to this point. On Saturday, I spent about 45 minutes on my first call with Assistant Commissioner Jenna Ferguson to talk about our program and what we needed to do next. And she was very supportive, and she reviewed the information. We had the necessary paperwork in. There's a couple of more things we need to do, and we could be up and running within 10 days at the fairgrounds. One of the things that also helped propel us forward is during these meetings, we talked about the necessity and came forward and talked to the Board of Selectmen about purchasing the freezers. One of the keys to getting the vaccine is that you have to have the proper refrigeration and freezer storage. You need the freezers to store the vaccine in its natural state. So we have a freezer that would handle Pfizer, and we have a freezer that would handle Moderna, safe location. We also have 2 refrigerators necessary for thawing. At the described center where we want to do the drive-through, we'll take one of those refrigerators and we'll bring the refrigerator to the fairgrounds, and we'll be able to use the administration building of the fairground during the day to have sort of as our command center. More importantly, to have the refrigerator in there that will have the vaccine. Part of this whole process with getting the vaccine, I was told by Jana Ferguson, the Assistant Commissioner, that we would be getting the Pfizer vaccine, which is a little trickier. Kathleen Carroll and I have talked a few times about the vaccine. As folks know, Kathleen's with the Board of Health. We're joined by Mark McDonald, who's the chair of the Board of Health, and we all work very cooperatively and closely together in dealing with these issues. And the Pfizer vaccine needs to be mixed, so it's a It's a little more complicated situation, but let me just quickly run through. So I mentioned to everyone that we're going to be having a vaccine drive-through center at the fairgrounds. We'll have 4 tents. We'll be able to do 4 cars at a time. Part of the process, I'm sure people, it's all in the news every day. Once people get their shots, we have to have a waiting area. We have a designated waiting area. When you enter the fairgrounds by South River Street, everything first off is by appointment. We use the sophisticated software that the Commonwealth will give us and PrepMod, and people will need to go and schedule their appointments. Everything's by appointment, and that really is so that you can control how things are going. Then people will arrive at the fairgrounds. They'll come to the first booth. First booth, just like if you go into a building today, they do the screening. You know, are you on the appointment list? Do you have a fever? Have you been in contact? They do the normal screening for COVID. Then you go up to the second booth. Where they'll ask you some more questions. They'll give you information on the shot itself. They'll talk to you a little bit what to expect. Then you will be directed by volunteers to which of the 4 tents that you'll pull up to. Tents will be set up. There'll be 2 20 by 20 tents with a tent in between. The 20 by 20s will have sides. The smaller tent between the two is really for the office, for the medical personnel to sit, to have their workbook and to have the medication, et cetera. Because remember, it's outside, so we have to have a heated area for folks. People will be coming in their cars. We'll have 2 sets of those. People will get their shots. Prior to all this, we're going to have a very robust web system to go along with PrepMod to really tell people what's expected. You know, one of the things that Kathleen and I talked about today was that people need to be prepared when they come there. You know, we're figuring about 3 minutes per shot. The goal is to do potentially 500 shots a week, and that's over 6 days. And in order to be able to do that, people need to come there. They got to be dressed in the appropriate clothing. It's winter. You're not going to be able to jump out of your car. So if you're in the driver's seat, you know, you got to be able to have something you can pull down so that they can inject into the muscle. If you're in the passenger seat, the same thing. So we'll try to get a lot of information out for that so that, people are aware of that. And the next step is they'll have the shot. Once they have the shot, they'll pull over to a waiting area. There'll be an outside waiting area. We're going to have an ambulance with paramedic staff there on site. We'll have volunteers on the ground. We'll have signage. If people start to feel sick, they lean on their horn so that they can get medical attention. If, God forbid, someone's having a severe reaction, they need to be transported to the hospital. That ambulance that's on site will transport them. Another ambulance will come over from across the street and take that post and stay there. And we'll repeat this during the day from 9 to 5, 6 days a week, Monday through Saturday, right through June 30th. And then more than likely we'll have to go beyond that. The goal is to probably by the end of June to give out about 92,000, 94,000 shots. That's roughly about 47,000 people, because remember, everyone has 2 shots. The Pfizer does require the 2 shots. It requires, I forget the exact time that people have to wait, but they'll get a sticker that will say how long. There'll be a sticker on the car that will tell the staff that's monitoring how long, because you have to keep people to the exact time so that everyone's safe. Also, when people are checking in that second shed, they'll also get a card for their next appointment, because it's important that the people that get the first inoculation get the second inoculation. Easiest way to do that is to get them into the system and give them a card right away, and they'll get a card. All of this will take place. Now, how is it going to be done? The big thing is having the appropriate medical personnel to administer the shots. We're very fortunate. Our paramedics can do that on any given day. We'll probably have 35 to 36 paramedics that could be available to give out the shots, as well as volunteers. One of the big things people ask is, how can I volunteer? For the last week or so, I've been getting a number of emails. I know that the selectmen have been getting emails. The Board of Health's been getting, Kathleen said the phone's ringing off the wall with, people wanting to know when they can get their shot and also how they can participate. There is a organization called the Medical Reserve Corps. Anyone that wants to volunteer, including myself, I signed up. This is what the form looks like. You can go onto our website. We have the Medical Reserve Corps application there. Tells you all about it. It's actually, we're in the Duxbury Bay area region, and that takes in Marshfield, Pembroke, Hanson, a number of communities. But if you want to volunteer as a medical person, you want to volunteer as a non-medical person, you need to fill out the application. There's Corey paperwork there. All the necessary paperwork is on the website. We have a box that people can click on. They can go to the Board of Health. They can go to the Board of Selectmen. Then there's the volunteer application. You have to submit your driver's license and whatever other pertinent information that they request. They'll process that and then get you in the Medical Reserve Corps. If you're a medical person, as a medical person. If you're a non-medical person, as a non-medical person. We still have some things to do. We've got to get the software first and foremost. We got to make arrangements to get the medication. Dr. Irons, who's overseeing the program for us, we're going to be meeting tomorrow to talk about working with, I need to call Jenna Ferguson back to make arrangements to get our medication out, depending on how much they're going to be able to send us. We can store quite a bit. What they can send us will dictate how many people we can get in the prep mode right away. People can sign and register. People may have seen today, I know the senator is very much aware of this and the Board of Health, but the governor during his press conference today moved up seniors. They're now in phase 1. We'll have to get the updated chart for those folks that are in phase 1. Even though we have the medication, you still have to follow the guidelines of who's entitled to get that particular medication. We follow the DPH guidelines. We'll have to get a new chart up on our website now that they've added seniors to that group. There's a big push. I get calls every day about moving teachers up, about moving DPW employees up, et cetera. So the administration's still grappling with that. Beyond that, we got to get some signage up and along the fairgrounds, working with the chief of police and the safety officer on the best traffic pattern, working closely with retired Chief Bill Hawking and with our treasurer collector regarding funding. But, even though we've taken the lead, it's in partnership with the Board of Health. As folks know, the local Board of Health is managing the pandemic across our Commonwealth. They've been doing a great job keeping people safe, contact tracing. I will tell you, Marshfield's in the red zone. I can tell you that Kathleen and the staff on the Board of Health that have been assisting Kathleen spent a lot of time on the phone working with the school nurses on contact tracing. There's been flare-ups, whether it's sports programs, whether it's school kids, teachers, everyday citizens that might be at a party and stuff like that, requires a tremendous amount of follow-up. The great thing about the shot is, we start mass inoculating people. The more sites, the more people, the better it's going to be. The final point I wanted to make is that we have one of the things that the Commonwealth has asked is that we open it up to other communities. At first, they wanted us to open it up to all of Plymouth County, and that's just not a doable situation. We got to see what kind of, between the paramedics, between the Medical Reserve Corps, I need to know what type of medical personnel that we're going to have available 6 days a week from 9 to 5 to be able to administer. And then we need non-medical people to assist with the various check-ins, the computer work, I know Kathleen said that she would come down as much as she could. But, just so folks know, everything is tracked. This prep mode tracks the medication, tracks the people. The reason it does all that, we're required to submit reports at the end of every day, how many people have inoculated. When people sign up, they'll put their medical information in there. The feds in the state require that information because potentially we could be reimbursed for the cost that we're going to incur. Town of Marshfield is incurring cost on the refrigeration and the freezers. They're going to incur cost on the overtime to pay the paramedics to administer. We have to rent the tents. We have to pay for the heating equipment. We have to feed the volunteers. We have to have coffee and water. And I was remiss, Chief Hawking's working on all the medical supplies that we're going to need. Alcohol swipes, Band-Aids, a whole litany of information of medical supplies, that we're going to need. I did have the opportunity to go over with Chief Hawking, with Dr. Irons, to Duxbury. Marshfield first responders were able to get their vaccine through Duxbury. Duxbury put together a program at the Duxbury High School, and they were, our fire, police, and paramedics were able to go over there, and now everyone's in the process pretty soon be able to get their second shot, and they'll go back there. But I was able to go inside. It's slightly a different setup, but the same thing with the check-ins and the monitoring of the medication, how many shots you get out, tracking the bottles, tracking how many shots, who gets it, because you got to remember, you don't want to be wasting any of the medication. You have to be very careful about that. So we saw that. That was a good learning curve. Tomorrow I will talk with Jenna Ferguson again, let her know what other communities the Board of Selectmen deem that will allow folks to participate. And then I'll make arrangements to get the software so that our IT people can get it plugged in on our websites, get it the important data retrieval stuff on the workbooks that we have for the people. We need to get the tent set up, the electricity, the fuel, all of that stuff, with the goal of being ready, quite possibly within 10 to 14 days. So that's sort of where we are. My recommendation of folks that are listening and tuning in that want to volunteer, go on our website, fill out these forms for the Medical Reserve Corps, because we need everybody. The old saying is it's going to take more than a village to get everyone inoculated, not only in our town, but in other towns. The more people we get inoculated, the quicker we can get back to some type of normalcy pre-COVID-19. And with that, I'm happy to answer any questions.
Can I have a question? Yeah, did you
No,
say
not
you're
right-
trying to do 500 a
Not
week?
right now, ma'am. Hang on a second. And I'm going to address that actual question, but if you have a question, if you could type it in the chat box, just let me know you have a question. We'll get to you as soon as we can.
Sorry.
But one thing, Mike, as that woman just mentioned, I know at one point you said 500 a week. I know that you meant 500 a day.
500 a day. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
So my couple things that I wanted to go over.
Yes.
I know that we have yourself, we have Mark McDonald, Chiefs Hawking, and Tavares here, along with our nurse from the Board of Health and other members of Board of Health that have been working tirelessly to get to where we are today. Rest assured that nothing has been left undone. This is where people should come to get your information. This is why I'm really happy to see that there's a lot of people on here tonight, because there was some suggestion on social media that Marshfield wasn't doing enough. We're doing every single thing that we can do. Everything changes daily. The information gets updated on the town website as soon as humanly possible. I don't think there's people working harder here. So if you have a concern, we'll certainly address that. But this is where you should come to get your information. Mike, some of the things that I want to add, and then I want to make sure that we get anybody else that's managing this in on it. So once this software is in, Mike, where do you go to make an appointment? Will there be a link on the town website where you can go in and say, look, I'd like you to make an appointment as soon as humanly possible? I'm Mike Bradley. How do I get in?
That is correct.
Is it simple as that?
There'll be a button set up on the website. It will be labeled. People will go there and they'll schedule their appointments. They'll put in the information that's required. Now, if you leave out some of the important information like your medical card and stuff like that, it will throw you out. So you need to follow the prompts, put the information in there.
That was my next question, is I'm sure it needs some kind of verification. I know I've heard self-attestation, or, you know, how do we verify? And Kathleen, I see you're nodding with me. How are we verifying?
So I was,
Because I know it's important for people to get the tests and, you know, whatever appropriate wave that you're in.
so just an hour ago, I was on a meeting with Marilyn Sutters, and there will be an attestation form that you have to complete, where you will designate, you know, your comorbidities or your eligibility. Do they mandate documentation from your physician or a letter? No. It's just going to be an attestation form. What she was talking about is, you know, they still have not completed vaccinating people under phase 1. So those people will take priority. And again, based on their attestation, completion of the form, their eligibility will then be determined, and they'll be able to make their appointments in a timely fashion. But no formal proof documentation as to what your health conditions are going to be required.
Okay,
Mr. Chairman,
thank you.
what you will have to do is that day that you show up, you will have to have some type of identification to show that you are the person.
Personal identification, yes.
That has your,
Mhm. Yes.
So I spoke to Senator O'Connor, Representative Kearney, Representative Cutler, Representative Machino, and there was an effort, I know, by the Southeastern Mass delegation to have the petition the governor make a regional site. So Senator O'Connor, you can chime in on this, as we're trying to get as many towns as we can in on Marshfield, but our capacity is probably going to be limited at some point, as you heard, just from the numbers that we had from Mike. So we're trying to get every town that touches us, and then any other town that is reasonably inclusive. So if you want to comment on that, Senator, while you have time.
First off, just congratulations to Mike and his team for putting that all together. I know that this is logistically challenging when it comes to the cold storage, the observation, the software, and obviously the procurement of the vaccine from the federal government. This is a really challenging logistical operation. So very good job to everybody involved, Kathleen, Michael, Chief Hawking, everybody, really. So one of the biggest concerns and questions that we're getting right now to our office is the map that they put up last week showing the vaccination sites throughout the entire state and how the South Shore is very bare. The governor basically wanted to get the site up as quickly as possible, and it's about 1/3 of the vaccination sites that will be live within the next week or so. And one of the, they started out with 44 sites, most of which are partnerships between Walgreens and CVS and more low access or low income communities. And so as we continue the further rollout of these vaccination sites, and there's going to be 59 vaccination sites that are going to be released this week, and then 165 vaccination sites by middle of February, that's going to be able to cover the South Shore. And South Shore Hospital right now is going through the process of becoming a vaccine depot, which will allow them to do vaccinations on a much larger scale and actually go out into areas of vulnerable and critical needs in all sorts of communities throughout the South Shore and make sure that those people have access to the vaccine. I was on a call with South Shore last week, and I was very encouraged after seeing the map and seeing the South Shore not having any stars on that map right now, and then talking with DPH and talking with South Shore. This is all more of just we wanted to get a map up as quickly as possible so people could see where they are, and that we're going through the process at a state level of certifying all of these sites by doing all the things that Michael just outlined, all the steps that we have to take to make sure that we comply with the federal mandates and standards that are there, as well as we make sure that none of these vaccines are going to waste. And one of the things that I did hear from South Shore Hospital is actually, it's great that you're getting the Pfizer vaccine, because not everyone can get that vaccine, as it has to be in a lower cold storage. So that's actually going to be a benefit, in my opinion, to the town of Marshfield, where more people will have access and demand will be more for the Moderna vaccine than the Pfizer, because not everyone has that equipment. So kudos to everyone involved in this. I know in talking with Michael about a week and a half ago, he had spoken about the town getting the cold storage during a Chamber of Commerce meeting, and really Marshfield's ahead of the game when it comes to this. And to be able to do this on your own without a pharmacy partner is very impressive. And I know that a lot of concern has been raised about the deployment of the vaccine and the vaccine distribution sites and the access to the vaccine and the phasing of the vaccine. I feel your frustration. We've worked very closely with DPH and with the governor's office to try and get as many people and professions boosted up as quickly as possible. And I'm really glad to hear the news today that the next step, which we'll be moving into on the 1st of February, will include our elderly population over the age of 75. And then from there, we'll be able to start individuals with 2 or more comorbidities, as well as individuals 65 and plus. So it's really good news that we're listening to more to the CDC guidelines when it comes to individuals who are 65 and older. And again, just a really job well done by the town of Marshfield all around in making this happen. And please, continue to use our office as a resource as we move forward with this. But the delivery sites the vaccination sites are coming, and and we're fast tracking a lot of people in these phases. So I think that a lot of people's concerns and issues that they've raised have been addressed by the state, maybe not in the quickest of time frames, but we're there.
Thank you, Senator. Mark McDonald, Board of Health, why don't you chime in, and then we'll see what my colleagues have to say. Mark, can't hear you.
Thanks, Mike. Nobody can say it any better than Mike did for us. It's when we get the exact information from mass.gov specific to the next phase, the task force will inform the community accordingly. And with that being said, our town is in the ready with freezes, location, and distribution. As soon as we are notified from the state, we're ready to go. Thanks, Mike Maresco. Good job.
Thank you.
Thank you, thank you, Kathleen. Great job.
All right. I'm sure everybody's anxious to get this shot. It's probably one of the most important things we'll do as a community, so just bear with us. As you can see, everybody is on it. We're doing everything we can, and I don't think we've left any stone unturned. So, Chris Rowland, did you want to comment on that?
I mean, just a quick, I think it's all been said, and I think, and I'm really grateful to see a lot of people on this call. I posted this meeting on my social media, both my Selectmen page and my personal page, and in some of the forums, mainly because, like our chairman said, this is the place to come for information, to learn about what our plans are. We do our best to get the word out, but, you can call me anytime and I'll be happy to talk with you. So, but I'm excited about this. And again, Mr. Maresco has done an excellent job of coordinating this with the Board of Health, and we're going to get it done for our community. So that's all I have.
I was frozen there for a second, Chris. Thanks.
Oh.
You all set?
Yeah, all set.
Okay. Steve Darcy.
Michael, in terms of our potential to deliver 500 shots a day, in your conversations with the state, are they confident that they can meet that distribution demand based on how things have gone so far?
Yes, Mr. Darcy. They said that they would be, so you get every Monday you place an order. They'll work with us on getting our first order as soon as we're up and running. That's going to predicate how many, because we can't schedule appointments if we don't have the medication. The thing about Pfizer is, as the senator mentioned, there's a lot of the Pfizer vaccine available immediately. And because we have the storage capacity, the freezer capacity, we'll be able to get that. And if everything goes according to plan, 500 to 600 shots. So the goal would be to try to maximize from 9 to 5 to get 600 shots a day with 4 stations to give out, which would give us about 3,600 shots per week. And by June 30th, we would do about 93,000 shots, which would be half of that would be people because it's 2 shots.
Thank you.
Chiefs Hawking and Tavares, do you want to add anything before I'm going to take a couple of these questions are here? If you have a question, now's the time to put it in the chat box.
Chief Hawking, I'll let you go first.
Thanks, Chief. I just want to say that logistically, this has been probably the biggest project that we've ever worked on together. And we're talking about it every single day, 7 days a week. We're always talking about this, and we're going to be able to pull this off. I think that people should feel confident that all of us together, we've been, with as Michael said, the task force has been going on for over a year right now. We're ready to go. We get the vaccine from the state. We're ready to go. We're going to get as many people done as we possibly can. People should feel confident. That's all I have.
Thanks, Chief. Chief Tavares?
Yeah, I'll just echo that. Obviously, a lot of time, energy, and effort has gone into this, and I commend the people that worked on it. It's been a long process, but planning started a long time ago. And I know everybody's different, but my personal experience and Chief Hawking's personal experience with the vaccine, we got our first shot Wednesday. It'll be 2 weeks ago, and although everybody's different, neither one of us had any side effect. And I look forward to February 10th to get my second shot. So those that are considering it, I know that different people have different responses, but I was pleased with no side effects. That's all I have.
Thank you, Chief. That's always good to hear. All right, so we got a couple of questions here.
There you go.
A couple of logistical questions we'll take is that Ms. Wilson indicated, one, do we have an alarm for the freezers? And that's an absolute yes.
Yes.
Mr. Maresco has secured those freezers. They have limited access. They're on a camera. They're secured to the wall. We have the backup generator. We're hoping to avoid any foreseeable mishap, Mike. I know that you've covered it with everybody here,
Yeah.
but I know there was an incident in JP the other day, which is horrible. We don't want to be that. So,
And
if there's any
Mr.
other-
Chairman, just to follow up on that with you, we're going to have a log. So very similar, if you go into a fine restaurant, you'll see on the back of the bathroom door, a staff person's in there to do an hourly check, and they have to sign their name. Same thing, every hour, we're going to be checking in the room to make sure that the freezers are working and maintaining the appropriate temperature. When we're not here, the police, well, I'm going to be working with Chief to have the police during the night make sure that there's no mishaps with the freezers. So we've left no stone unturned to make sure that there are no mishaps with the vaccine.
All right. Another question, Ms. Wilson. Yes, Mike, what can we do now that we finally got very close to this approval? I mean, we can't mail all our residents, but how can we, we've gone on ATD. We're putting it on the web. What other measures can we take to give everybody the information we have here tonight?
So I think one of the things we'll be able to do, Mr. Chairman, once we get confirmation that everything's in order and we're going to get our shipment of the vaccine, and we do have our paramedics ready to go, but we're going to need additional volunteers. Once we have all that in place, we'll be able to do work with WATD, with MCTV, with the local newspapers. We'll probably be able to do a reverse 911 call to remind people to sign up, to go to PrepMod, to go onto our website and sign up, because the biggest challenge for people is to sign up and get themselves an appointment. And then the other thing is what people should be doing immediately when they leave the meeting is go on the website, get the form, fill the form out, and get that form back if they want to volunteer as a non-medical person. If they want to volunteer as a medical person, we'd love to have it. We've had a number of nurses already reach out to us that work at various hospitals saying, they would like to participate. They would like to do their part to help folks.
Excellent. Next question, Ms. Russo, you had a question regarding vaccine and fees. You can go ahead. And once it's unmuted, you can go ahead.
Thank you for holding this open forum to the community and hearing about the vaccine site. That's exciting. I just had a couple questions, and thank you, Senator O'Connor, for joining this evening. I just know, being a vaccine coordinator at my clinical site, there's typically a cap on an administration fee for vaccines. typically that's in pediatrics, but will there be a vaccine charge to the community or is it billed to their insurance? I just feel like a lot of residents will have that question for them.
That there is no charge.
There are no out-of-pocket fees,
There's no
Okay.
out-of-pocket
Oh, that's
fees.
great.
no
Wonderful.
co-payments.
Oh, that's wonderful. I just feel like that might be a big question. And just to say myself, I've gotten the vaccine and we'll be getting the second one next week and got Moderna and I've done well. So I just words of encouragement for anybody that has questions, but it's been safe. But thank you again. And thank you to Senator O'Connor for joining.
Okay. No further questions, Ms. Russo?
No, thank you.
Okay. Next question. Good question. Mike, how can we prevent the people that are coming back for the second shot to not get tied up in line with the first shot? I guess that's a logistical question we'll have to deal with.
Well, they wouldn't because they'll be scheduled, so they'll come in rotation. So it doesn't matter. You'll have, once we get whatever I'm not a medical person. I don't know if it's 14, 15 days after the first shot. We'll schedule appointments as they come in. They'll be scheduled for their second appointment. When they come back for their second appointment, they'll come in the rotation that day. So that will all be sorted out. That's why you use prep mode. It's a specially designed software that helps manage and monitor that.
And whose last question, I think you covered this, Mike. Who's paying for it? Marshfield budget or Convo State budget? I think all the above on that.
Right now, we're footing all the bill for everything. We've put out our own money. We'll be paying the overtime. One of the reasons Prep Mod is used is that prepares and identifies the list of the necessary materials that needs to go for the federal requirements, for the state requirements, and then for reimbursement for us to recoup some of the money that we've invested.
Okay, thanks. And Trish Riley, yes, we did cover it, but you will be able to go to the town website to get updates as things come in now. Okay. Yeah, and as people come on, realize that things change daily. We're just getting this information all together. If you're on the website right now and you can't find the volunteer sign-up form, we'll coordinate that with the town administrator. I don't have an estimated end date other than the date of June 30th that the town administrator gave us. If need be, we'll extend beyond it. And yes, Ms. Russo, clearly the folks that are doing the testing at the fairground will have to be, oh, did you want testing? So I'm not sure if we're going to have a combo site, Ms. Russo, testing and vaccine. Mike, I think our testing can be done in a whole lot of places right now. Vaccine is our objective.
That is correct, Mr. Chairman.
And then, okay. So, Mark, you have anything that you wanted to add?
Yeah, I might have been just a little remiss on my my doling out of thank yous, and I just Senator O'Connor, thank you so much, and thank you for your phone call to me last week. I appreciate that very, very much. You put a lot of faith back into me for the political party that runs around. So nice job, and thank you very much. Keep doing what you're doing. I missed out on Chief Hawken, and I missed out on Chief Travaris and the whole task force team that meets every Tuesday morning. It's just it's a great thing. Unfortunately, people can't call in because it would take us an extra couple of hours to get through everything. But Mike, everybody, thanks for everything. Thanks for the hard work. It's going to continue. I'm getting one text message after another text message with volunteers coming through on my phone right now. So this looks like it's going to work. And as soon as we hear from the state, we'll get rolling. Thanks, Mike, again.
Thanks, Mark.
And the last couple of questions here. When, Mike, when do we think the calendar, the prep mod will be up? So that people can
Mike,
take a look at it?
I'm hoping optimistically, maybe by the end of the week.
Okay.
For people that want to sign up for volunteers, it is on the website. Kendra Stetson just sent the information, but it is up on our website.
And it looks like the last question I'll be taking on this is yes, if you're volunteering, they'll provide the PPE equipment.
Yes.
All right. All right, everyone. I really want to thank everyone that's on this, been working on it since we found out, back in late February. And believe it, your elected officials and everybody that's here volunteering their time spend a third of their day on this every day. So bear with us. We're doing the best we can. And our best is really better than most of the region because we are ahead of the curve here. And on that note, Mike, I want to make sure that I know that Chris and Steve may have mentioned it earlier, but as a community, I want to be as inclusive to other communities as we can be without breaking the system that we built. So let's make sure that we can get in as many towns that touch us or other towns that are as reasonably permissible. Okay?
Will do, Mr. Chairman.
And I think we need to take a vote on this, correct, Mike?
Yes, if we could.
So based on
Both,
that,
actually, Mr. Chairman. One to support, if you don't mind, one supporting the drive-through vaccination center at the fairground, and one about being as inclusive as humanly possible, starting with those communities that are closest.
okay, before I do that, Chris, did you want to add anything?
No, I'm all set.
Steve?
No, I'm all set.
Senator, I know you probably got a busy schedule. Anything you want to add before we move on to other business?
No, I just want to say well done and thank you for including me. I appreciate it.
Well, as always. All right, I make a motion to approve the drive-through vaccination center at the Marshfield Fairgrounds as indicated.
Second.
Motion has been made and duly seconded. A roll call is in order. Mr. Bradley?
Aye.
Mr. Rowland?
Aye.
Mr. Darcy?
Aye.
Unanimous vote to approve the drive-in vaccination center at the fairgrounds.
I'll make a secondary motion that we include all of our neighbors in any other towns as is reasonably permissible.
Second.
Motion's been made and duly seconded. A roll call is in order. Mr. Bradley?
Aye.
Mr. Rowland?
Aye.
Mr. Darcy?
Aye.
Unanimous vote to be as inclusive as possible with our surrounding towns.
Okay. Thanks, everyone. Let's move on to the next issue. Mike, we had a 7:15 appointment. It's my understanding that, Mike, the material came in waves from Kate this week, so I didn't get the notice of the hearing. Steve, do you have the notice of the hearing? What I'd like to do is just read off the notice of the hearing and then continue it to February 8th for the Green Harbor, the alcohol transfer, all alcohol restaurant license transfer from Green Harbor Bar and Grill to, looks like Never Punch Out. Looks like
Yes.
they had a couple issues they had to take care of. So my understanding, Mike, Steve, are you on for these folks? Steve Gard?
No, it's actually Attorney North, but
Oh, okay.
I don't see,
Well, let me just ask one more last. Is everybody on for the liquor license transfer tonight?
Mr. Bradley, yes,
yeah.
correct. I'm here simply as a facilitator for the owner of the real estate, and I've been working with Bev to try to secure some of the missing documentation from the Department of Revenue. We did have a good call with them today in the accountant for the previous license holder, so we expect to get those documents probably by the end of the week. So I think a continuance to February 8th is appropriate.
All right. Then you don't need me to open the hearing. I'm just going to move this item I'm just going to move it to February 8th. Is everybody okay with that, Chris and Steve?
Yeah. Perfect.
So with Mike, let's just reschedule this to February 8th and repost the hearing. And hopefully you'll get everything you need by then, Steve. Okay?
Thank you very much.
Okay. Next item up was Mike's budget presentation. Mike had passed budget presentation.
okay. Just very quickly, the reason we're here this evening, under the charter, under section 5.2, the Board of Selectmen and through the town administrator needs to present to the advisory board the fiscal year budget for FY22. The advisory board have been mailed out their copies of the budget, and we're quickly going to do a presentation for them. I believe it's going to pop up on the screen.
I don't see where Kathy Duddy, she must have gone.
Folks, just remind you, if you're not talking, make sure you're on mute, please. Thank you.
1 second.
Thank you, John.
Let's see.
Great, thank you, John. Fiscal 2022 operational budget. If we could have the next slide, budgetary achievements, overview. We have accomplished a great deal with this budget while we continue to combat COVID-19. The FY 2022 budget will provide $1,577,000 in new revenue for the school department, a 3% increase over the previous fiscal year. General government has increased by 2.5% and will have built in some new positions while repositioning resources to achieve that goal. We have added a full-time nurse and a three-quarter nurse for the Board of Health. We've added a full-time assistant planner, a full-time assistant conservation agent. We have accounted for COLAs and contracts in all divisions without the use of free cash. We continue our cost-sharing agreement with the schools for human resource division, and we continue to fund full-time building department staff. We have recommended an increase to public safety at $357,182.38 over the FY 2021 budget to continue to provide the best resources for police and fire personnel. We have increased cemetery trees and greens ball field accounts by approximately $100,000, and that provided the DPW with department flexibility to move overtime costs around their various divisions. We have not reduced any senior or veterans services. We have managed to keep all municipal full-time positions funded at this time, even during the increased state charges and reductions to local receipts. Next page, please. Revenue explanation. Revenues are again being recommended at 2.9% overall increase, which we feel is achievable. The Board of Selectmen had previously adopted a budget policy on 6/1/20 that no revenue should exceed 3%. The revenue recommendation before you accomplishes that directive. Our other revenues were maintained at 1.65% increases due to the reduction of our local receipts across the board. Our state aid figure remains close to a 1.2% overall increase. Debt exclusion increased $114,241 to be raised by taxation outside of the Prop 2.5. The debt exclusion passed, as folks remember, November 19th of 2020. Total revenue projection for FY 22 is $103,174,582. Next, revenues. As you can see, the charts on the sides identify revenues on the right-hand side and break out by type our other revenues to fund our municipal budgets. Revenues increased by 2.9% overall, or in dollars, $3,331,756. And as you can see by these great pie charts put together by a treasurer collector and finance director, Patrick's done a great job. And you can see the slices of the pie, whether it's the enterprise indirects or waterways or wetland protection, cemetery, solar, etc. And then the one to the right, which is the revenues, it's state aid, less offsets, other revenues, and mass total allowable levy. Next slide, please. Expense explanation. The town's department heads have put in requests only for what is truly needed to keep providing services to our great community during these challenging times. I'd be remiss if I didn't thank the department heads. They're very good about only ordering and requesting what they truly need. It really is a great partnership. We have spent a lot of time, Patrick and I, preparing the budget, meeting with our department heads, listening to what their needs are, listening to what their challenges are, and together we come to something that is agreeable to everyone. The centralized budget process we now have allows the town administrator, the Board of Selectmen, to have the flexibility to reposition resources based on the needs presented during the budget hearings. We have met with all departments twice, reviewed their requests to achieve their goals. We have again not had to implement any layoffs or furloughs as many of our neighbors have, thanks in large part to the support and recommendations of our Board of Selectmen. The preceding charts and department reviews will provide further information. The FY 2022 total expense projection $103,174,582. Next slide, please. Expenses, another fantastic pie chart by Patrick, which shows the breakout of the expenses by category. Next slide, please. Fixed cost summary for FY 2021. The fixed costs continue to be managed in accordance with our operational structure. This year was challenging, given we had $170,000 or 15% state assessment increase for charter schools. The finance department once again was able to time the debt service structure to offset those increases, which saved the budget $333,583 this fiscal year. This prevented layoffs and maintained a total fixed cost increase of less than 1% over last year's increase. It is always our objective to keep fixed costs level funded. If you look at the chart, you'll see debt service not excluded, debt service excluded, etc. You'll see the FY22 request, the increase over FY21, and the percentage increase. As you can see, the sum, of course, went down. Debt service not excluded went down. Debt service excluded also went down. Total fixed costs projected an increase of $856,798 or 2.95%. Next slide, please. Debt management. Capital funds appropriated by borrowing or any other finance sources may not be used for operational expenditures at any capacity. The town makes certain these funds are kept separate and are only used for projects in which they have been appropriated by town meeting, the legislative body. The finance team, with guidance from the board, has a policy that does not allow inside debt costs to exceed 5% of our operating budget in total, as well as excluded debt cannot exceed 10% of our operating budget in total. We have achieved both of these goals. In total, debt service has been reduced by $378,035, all while bonding our capital projects. Debt exclusions passed on November 19, 2020, for the police station, for the DPW facility, for the senior center addition, and for seawalls. Debt management and GOB market knowledge has saved jobs this year. This will minimize our tax impact because of our strategy. It worked, and we see the benefits of our conservative plan now and going forward. So you can see inside debt, $79,714.59. Outside debt, other debt, and total debt $378.35.19. Next slide, please. It's a great chart that illustrates the debt service, tax-supported, non-exempt versus tax-supported, exempt versus self-supporting.
Going the right way.
And it's all going the right way. Great. Thank you, Patrick. You are correct. Thanks to Patrick's hard work, we're trending downward, which is great for our taxpayers. FY 2022 general government. Total general government number is $2,909,196. General government was able to reposition resources to add full-time assistant conservation agent. The general government was able to fund a full-time assistant planner by keeping administrative clerk's position vacant for the time being as we manage costs through this pandemic. The general government has cut discretionary spending and IT costs due to the expected purchase of Munis software. The general government has built in 2% projected contractual increases to the salary line items for union and bylaw employees. In total, general government, $2,909,196 or 2.57% increase. Next slide, please. FY 2022 public safety. The town continues to promote and provide funding its public safety personnel. The town settled contracts and increased public safety by 2.75%, in line with recently signed collective bargaining agreements for both fire and police. Police and fire returned approximately $450,000 in FY20 by exceptional management of their overtime and their resources. The police and fire departments continue to receive support from capital budget to purchase safety equipment, guns, ammo, tasers, ambulance, fire trucks, and all the necessary supplies that goes along with that. Public safety increase of $357,182 or 2.75%. Next slide, please. FY 2022 education. The schools have received a full 3% increase on its operational budget over the FY 2021. The school's total number for FY 2022 will be $52,577,000 or 3% increase over FY 21. The schools have done a fantastic job of combating the COVID-19 virus while educating our students. We have received millions in support for the schools from the CARES Act funding. Town meeting has supported the school resource officers for the next 3 years. We also have a grant that's helping with that. We have a school resource officer at the high school, at the Furnace Brook Middle School, and we have a school resource officer that travels and spends 1 day in each of our 5 elementary schools. The school and the town have worked to improve the Wi-Fi expansion for all of our schools and town facilities so that our families and children who don't have access to Wi-Fi can drive up to our public buildings and get the necessary Wi-Fi to do their assignments and their homework. Next slide, please. FY 2022 Public Works. Town continues to support our Public Works Department to provide the best services to our citizens. Public Works Division will see a 2% increase overall for potential contractual increases. We have worked with the Superintendent of Public Works to reposition resources to provide additional funding for maintenance of their fleet. Most recently, we have increased the ball field and parks account by $100,000 to keep our fields and play spaces in the high-quality shape our community deserves. Public Works also receives support for their capital needs through the capital budget process. Total commitment to the general fund Public Works, $3,026,973. Next slide, please. Health and Human Services for FY 2022. We continue to fund a full-time assistant veterans service agent. We have provided additional council on aging funding for goods and services for our senior population to continue to thrive. We have increased funding for the Board of Health agents and have funded a full-time nurse and actually 2 part-time nurses to keep the town healthy during the COVID-19 pandemic. Total increase for Health and Human Services, $114,897 or 8.4%. Next slide, please. Cultural Services. Library has taken on the task to keep their services open and allow the public to have access to library resources during the pandemic. The town continues to fund under the Cultural Services, Clam Flats, Veterans Memorial, and the Historic Commission's efforts. The Cultural Services benefit us all. Total commitment to our library and cultural services for FY 22 is $826,148. Utilities. The town will be receiving additional energy credits with the most recent power purchase agreement, as well as placing a solar array field on our capped landfill. We have invested with green community grants into LED lighting for the schools and the fire station. Town hall's coming up next. The utility budget covers all town building costs for heat, electricity, and communications. The current funding level is $402,588, and we hope that this will decrease by energy credit offsets. Next slide, please. Revenue, as you can see from this chart, takes you through how we create the revenues. We have the base tax levy in FY 22 of $67,548,102. And then increase over FY 21 is $2,472,381.01. Statutory 2.5 increase is the 1 million. Oh, just jumped. If you could just go up, there it is. Okay, $1,688,703, which is an increase over FY 21 by $61,809.53. Total limit is $69,936,804. Increase over FY 21, $2,534,190.54. I do just want to bring in the treasurer collector. Has anyone watched the original budget presentation? We did make a a slight adjustment. It was an adjustment on the good side, and that was the assessing department did a great job of uncovering new growth. New growth's one of the areas, and you can see from the chart, new growth was at 700,000, but it's really at
845,000. So you'll see a difference between the FY21 levy limit at 67,402,614, and then if you look at the FY22 base tax levy, 67,548,102. Those two numbers are generally the same if you go under. However, because we recognize a higher new growth number that was certified with the Department of Revenue, we elected to take the money today to help offset some of our general insurance costs that are going to come up next fiscal year for sure.
Great. Thank you, Patrick. So you can see total revenue, $103,174,582. Next slide, please. Expenses, this will take you down, show you the expenses, the general government, public safety, et cetera, school department expenses, debt service non-excluded, debt service excluded, general government, pension liability, health insurance, unemployment. We, just like any private business, we pay unemployment, facilities, snow and ice, audit, OPEB, payroll, reserve fund, the overlay account, county assessments, town meeting appropriation, for a total expense of $103,174,582. Next slide, please. Closing remarks. The FY 2022 budget as presented is balanced. Expenses and revenues equal. The tax rate went down to $13.19 per thousand. The schools will receive a 3% increase of the FY 21 budget if approved by town meeting. School resource officers will continue to be funded by our grant for the high school, for the Furnace Brook and the elementary. General government budget has increased by 2.5%. Town hall elevator is up and running to create better access for our citizens who struggle with mobility issues. We are funding full-time nurse and part-time nurses to help out with the pandemic with the Board of Health. We are funding a full-time assistant planner and an assistant conservation agent to manage the very large caseload demands. We are funding COLAs and contracts without free cash usage. We continue to cost share with the schools for HR. We have increased public safety funding by $357,182 for fire and police. We have increased cemetery trees and greens ball field accounts by $100,000 and have provided the DPW with flexibility to manage their overtime costs. No layoffs or furloughs. Capital projects are underway by the DPW for the DPW's new building and plans for the additional space. I'd be remiss to also throw in there, we did purchase the old Republic building, so that represented a little less than a third of the space required. So plans are underway to build the additional space that's going to be needed for the DPW on that site. Senior center expansion, that project's underway. If you go by, you'll see we're going to actually have the groundbreaking this Friday. The new police station work's getting underway. We have to do some work before we can tear down the old DPW barn. But if you go by Parsonage Street, you'll see fences are down, everything's moved, and we're ready for demolition and start digging the foundation. I'm happy to report to date, we have collectively saved the taxpayers $13.7 million due to very favorable interest rates and the use of $1.2 million in bond premium funds for these projects to date. We saved about $12.5 million on the interest rate, and we applied the 1.2 in bond premium. So that's where the 13.7 million came from. We will continue to look for ways to reduce cost on these projects as we move forward. Thank you, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Mike, I've seen that presentation several times. I don't have any questions or comments other than to say great job. Well-balanced budget during this impossibly difficult time. I know we've all worked on it all year round to make sure that we're, not to say the balanced budget, there's other towns that are going bankrupt right now because they didn't plan properly. So the fiscal team's doing a great job. Chris, any questions?
No questions. I've seen this as well, but I too also want to say, the word of the day is proactivity, and Mr. Moresco and Mr. Della Russo have done an excellent job of being proactive in the jaws of this COVID epidemic and other challenges that we've had over the years. So great job, guys.
Thank you, Mr. Rowland.
Steve?
Yeah, it seems like every day in the local paper, I see another headline for a town with huge budget shortfalls and deficits. So we're just very lucky to have the team that we have in place and all the hard work that you guys put in to get those results for our community.
Thank you.
All right. All right. If I'm not mistaken, Mike, next item up is the discussion and vote on the appointment of the search committee for fire chief,
That is
unless
correct.
Chief Hawking is going to rescind his resignation and stay on.
That is
Every
correct.
time.
Another good try. One more try.
I'm just, it's the Irish-Italian guilt. Either way, I gotta get you. Either way.
Mike Bradley, I heard you were going to resend yours as well.
Oh. We gotta. Anyways, let's move on. Okay, so Mike, why don't you update everyone? I know we already talked about it, but go ahead.
Sure. So just so folks know, we are going to begin the process to search for a new police chief to fill the position vacated by Bill Hawking. Right now, the department's being run by the interim chief, Tom Corbo, and we've moved up some. So we've got acting captains, acting deputies to fill the void until we have a permanent chief. We're very fortunate that retired Chief Hawking has stayed on as a consultant to help the interim chief and to aid the Board of Selectmen and myself in the search for a new fire chief. And we want to begin right away. We want to get the committee up and established. And I believe Mr. Chairman, you have the list of the committee members that will make up the search committee.
It is, again, I only got pieces of it because we talked about it. It's going to be yourself, so Michael Moresco,
Chief Tavares.
Chief Tavares.
Chief Hawking.
Mike, just give me the list that we talked
Sure.
about. Go right ahead.
Sure. So it's going to be Steve Darcy from the
Yes.
Board of Selectmen, the Town Administrator, Phil Tavares, our Police Chief, Bill Hawking, our retired Fire Chief, Danielle Kerrigan, our HR Director, Attorney Galvin, our Town Council, and our Labor Council, John Clifford.
Okay.
That will be the search committee.
And that makes complete sense. Clearly, we need an odd number of 7 people. All of those folks, I think, have served in one capacity or another on a previous search team. And hopefully we'll get a great candidate. So I want to get that moving as soon as possible. Chris, do you have any questions?
No questions.
Steve?
No questions.
All right. So I make a motion to approve the search committee of 7 people that were just named for the fire chief search committee.
I'll second.
A motion's been duly made and second. A roll call is in order. Mr. Bradley?
Aye.
Mr. Rowland?
Aye.
Mr. Darcy?
Aye.
A unanimous vote to approve the fire chief's search committee.
Okay. Next item up, discussion and vote on acceptance of a conservation easement on Brewster Street. I don't see,
There's nothing in here. I don't know if Attorney Galvin's still here. Mr. Attorney Galvin mentioned this, that he has the necessary paperwork. He's reviewed it and the board just needs to vote to accept it.
so I did talk to him and I'm aware of it. I don't have any questions. Chris, you have any questions?
No, I'm aware of it as well. No questions.
Steve?
No questions.
Move to approve the acceptance of a conservation easement for Brewster Street.
Second.
The motion's been duly made and second. A roll call is in order. Mr. Bradley?
Aye.
Mr. Rowland?
Aye.
Mr. Darcy?
Aye.
Unanimous vote to approve the conservation easement on Brewster Street.
Next item up is a review, discussion, and vote on the approval of the public information and hazard mitigation plan evaluations. Is this Joe?
Yes, it is.
Is this Joe Flood? I saw the placard, Joe.
It is.
Behind you too. I love it.
Joe
All
Flood.
right, Joe Flood.
Thank
Come on,
you.
Joe. Tell us. tell us what we're looking at here, Joe.
Great. So as part of our CRS implementation, we have both the hazard mitigation plan, which is updated quarterly, along with our plan for public information, which is the information part of our CRS program that's also evaluated and updated annually. So for the plan, just quickly, our plan for public information in its first year of implementation, as you can imagine, it's a little difficult to plan public outreach when we can't be out in the public. So I want to credit my committee in the work that we did in order to adapt to the challenging times that we faced in our first year of trying to do public outreach. On page 9 of the PPI annual evaluation, you'll see that we put a table together starting on page 9 of our outreach activities. If they were completed or modified, or if they were not completed, we were able to complete them all with some modifications due to COVID-19. Going into the desired outcomes checklist, we have outcomes that have to be presented from those outreach projects. You'll see that only several were not achieved, and the ones that weren't achieved, we go on to explain why they weren't and how we may make adaptations so that they are achieved in the future. So again, I want to credit my committee for the great work they did this year. At the very end, you'll see some changes that we're thinking about implementing this coming year or in 2021. Due to the ongoing pandemic and the fact that we see, again, our outreach is being mostly virtual throughout 2021. So that is the plan for public information annual evaluation. And then very quickly, we have been doing this. You approved this last year. This will be our second year of doing our hazard mitigation plan annual evaluation. This is something that we do every quarter. We get together with the original Hazard Mitigation Planning Committee, which is just the department heads, ask them for any updates on hazard mitigation activities they've completed. Again, this will show you in red some of the additions and changes that were made, and also anything else that was updated. We have a slew of updates already for the plan that we're working on now to be presented, and then in February or March, get our Q1 update to the plan. So per CRS requirements, it's a requirement to present this information to you, have you vote to adopt both of these documents, and then we send them out to the media and to our public information outlets. We actually, if the selectmen haven't already, we actually do have a Facebook page we established last year to be in line with releasing our information to the public. I suggest to go onto Facebook and search Marshfield CRS and like the Facebook page to stay in touch with what we're doing.
Muted myself. Joe, you've done a great job, as well as your entire committee. Can you remind people where we are in terms of the actual savings that you're providing? And I don't even think we were supposed to be there till I think year 5.
Yeah, year 5.
That was amazing.
Yeah, our hazard mitigation plan actually cites in it that our 5-year goal was to be at a class 7 community. We achieved that in 2019 and officially started October 1st of this past year. So all flood insurance renewals and new business October 1st and after are all receiving the CRS discount of 15%. It's a town-wide savings. With the change in the flood insurance rate maps are, in losing, about 200 to 300 policies because of that change. We're at about a $280,000 savings across the entire community for our CRS because of our participation in CRS. And I will preview that the committee is investigating on whether we can notch up even one more level. We didn't think it was even possible through conversations we've had with ISO and some others. We're actually the highest scoring CRS community in Massachusetts, shy by only 200 and some points from making the next class. And I do believe that in 2021, we actually could get there. So it's even better than we thought when we started out down this road.
That's great. I didn't think you could go beyond the 15%. So the 15%, I'm sure, is really helpful to people that have to pay this. But if you can get us to the next level, I'm sure that you'll do it, because we didn't expect to be here until a couple of years from now. So
All
great job.
about it.
Thanks to everyone that's on your committee.
Yeah.
And keep working and let us know if you need anything else. All right.
Thank you. Yes, and we appreciate your support in the committees and the board support. So thank you so much, and the town support. So thank you.
Chris, did you want to say anything?
No, I know. I mean, nothing more than great work, Joe, and you've done great work all along. And like Michael said, like our chairman said, I mean, it's just it's got to be an amazing thing for the people that have to pay flood insurance to have you working for them. So appreciate it.
Thank you,
Steve.
Yeah, no, great work, Joe, and thanks for all that you do for our community.
All right. So Joe and Mike, did you want us to take a vote on this tonight?
Yes,
You
please.
said. So voting on, what's the specific motion?
So the motion would be to approve the plan for public information
Okay.
and the hazard mitigation plan annual evaluation.
Make a motion to approve the plan for public information and hazard mitigation plan annual evaluations.
Second.
A motion's been duly made and second. A roll call is in order. Mr. Bradley?
Aye.
Mr. Rowland?
Aye.
Mr. Darcy?
Aye.
Unanimous vote to approve the plan for public information and hazard mitigation plan annual evaluation.
All right. Thanks, Joe. Joe,
Thank
Flood,
you.
love you. We'll see you soon.
Thank you all very much. We'll talk soon.
All right.
See ya.
Next item, discussion and vote on the acceptance of a gift for an annual maintenance supplies for the Peter Igo Park. Mike, can you tell us what this is?
Yes, so Peter Igo, Friends of Peter Igo, take care of annual maintenance for the park, and they're willing to donate $2,100. That includes power washing of tennis courts, basketball courts, and multi-sport courts for $200. 5-step fertilizer program for 12,000 square feet of sod, $300. 12 yards of black clean mulch for $360. Fertilizer and plant and flower replacement, $200. Trash bags, dog waste bags, cleaning supplies, $150. Supplies for blowers, weed whackers, lawnmowers, $200. Sanitizer for 5 installed hand sanitizer stations, $150. Professional mosquito and tick mitigation for $540. A total amount of the gift is $2,100. All maintenance, including power washing, fertilizer, replacement of dog waste bags, refill of hand sanitizer, etc., done by the Friends of Peter Igo volunteers. Respectfully submitted by Bud Dukester and the Friends of Peter Igo Park to the Recreation Department.
As always, they do a great job. And, the place is just, it's really great. If you haven't been down there, you got to get down there. But we appreciate the generous donation, and I have no questions. Chris?
Sorry, I was muted. No questions. This is great. I appreciate it.
Steve?
Yeah, it's very generous. No questions.
So I move to accept the generous donation of $2,100 from the Friends of Peter Igo Park for maintenance supplies for the Peter Igo Park.
Second.
A motion's been duly made and second. A roll call is in order. Mr. Bradley?
Aye.
Mr. Rowland?
Aye.
Mr. Darcy?
Aye.
Unanimous vote to accept a gift of $2,100 for maintenance, supply, and services from the Friends of Peter Igo for the Recreation Department.
Excellent. Next item, discussion and vote on declaration. This is my favorite. Equipment is surplus for auction and destruction. So if anybody's still here, there's 26 people. Let's see what these items are. Patrick Delarusso, what do you got?
Well, look at the photos. They're high dollar items, as Cousin Eddie would say.
These items here. Oh, I'm sorry. I
You
thought
get
this
those
was,
in the fire.
these guys right here, some office chairs.
Couple of chairs, which are not really exciting, but
But I have to be honest with you. I haven't told Michael this, because I found out this on the way up from the meeting. The quint just sold for $12,000.
What is it? Sold for 12 grand?
12 grand.
12,000.
What sold?
The other item is the engine that recently just came out of service from Chief Hawking and the fire department and Chief Corbo. And so we hope to get that up there with a successful vote tonight by Michael and the Selectmen.
that is fantastic, Patrick. 12,000 for the quint.
What are we going to get for the
Man,
chair?
I would have paid $12,000 for the quint. That'd have been fun to drive around Marshfield.
You can still drive it. We still have it. We haven't turned it over yet.
Oh, that would be terrifying.
The check has to come in. The check has to get paid. The bank has to pay us. So
Right.
there's a little bit of a process. So
All right, Pat, I just want to know what the estimate is on that broken chair.
I'd probably say, I think.
We've been here a long time. I'll move it on.
25.
I would make a motion to declare the equipment as surplus for auction or destruction like that chair.
Second.
A motion been duly made and second. A roll call is in order. Mr. Bradley.
Aye.
Mr. Rowland.
Aye.
Mr. Darcy.
Aye.
A unanimous vote to declare surplus items, 2 chairs and the fire engine. So thank you.
All right, next item, ambulance rates, discussion and vote. Hawk, is this you?
I can,
Oh, Mike, go ahead.
let me jump in. So, thanks to retired Chief Hawking, to the interim chief, Tom Corbo, Patrick, and myself, we got together. It's important every couple of years to review the ambulance rates, especially when there's a pandemic and the volume is up so high. As folks know, ambulance is a public service that we have to provide. And in doing so, the revenue we bring in nowhere covers the cost. But the goal of going through this arduous process of looking at the numbers, comparing what other communities are charging, and coming up to what our rate should be, and going by what the Board of Selectmen would like to see, is they'd like us up in the middle, up in the upper middle portion of it. We raise the rates not because we want to generate money, but right now, without raising the rates, we would be hemorrhaging. If we raise the rates, we sort of cut the loss in half. And that's what we need to do, because we need to be mindful of the people that we're transporting. The important thing before we get into the rates is people know one of the things, 84% of the transports that we do are for Medicare and Medicaid patients. And they have rates that are set and defined somewhere between $400 and $500. So even though our actual cost may be 3 times that, we lose on those. But now remember, that's a segment of the population, 84% of our trips. So that means the rates that we're talking about tonight will affect only 16% of those transports that we transport. What we're proposing in the Selectmen's packet, you'll see that we have the current ambulance rates for 2020. And I thought it was important sort of for a baseline for everyone to see what the other communities around us are charging. And then to be able to compare that to what our present rate is, and then what our proposed new rate is. And what we're proposing is for BLS, an increase from $1,300 to $1,500. For ALS1, an increase from $1,900 to $2,100. ALS2, an increase from $2,500 to $2,900. And miles increase from $29 to $33 per mile. And that will put us in the upper middle, with a number of communities charging much more than that. And like I said, if this is adopted, and I hope the board adopts this, this will cut our hemorrhaging to simply bleeding and cut the amount of money we lose in half. With that, I'll if Chief Hawking would like to add anything.
No, I would just echo what Michael said, that everybody needs to remember that this is only going to affect about 16% of the calls that we do. It's because of the demographics in Marshfield that 84% are either Medicaid or Medicare, which are the government-sponsored programs. And no matter what we charge for that, we only get that flat fee that they pay us. And this increase will just get us, as you can see, just right around the middle, the average of the surrounding communities that we're here. And I'm also happy to answer any questions as we try to do this every couple of years. Patrick, Michael, and myself have done it the past few years, and Chief Corbo helped this year. It's just one of those things that we have to do to try, as Michael said, to stop the hemorrhage.
Mr. Chairman, if our treasurer, collector, and finance director could weigh in also?
Sure. You know, I think it's super important from our side of it, given the tightness of revenues this year. We're experiencing 10% reduction over last year's ambulance revenues from the same time period. And that's not because, and we've also had an increase in volume. So that means our costs have gone up, right? We have more calls. We're spending more money on bodies and overtime, right? But our revenues are going down because of the type of calls that we're getting, right? It's not subjected to, as Chief Hawking and Michael said, it's really the whoever fit dials 911. You know, we got to go. You know what I mean? And you know, this is a super important thing for the finance department. I think it's super important for our local receipts this year too, to kind of close the gap on that loss. It really is important, guys. Thank you.
Thanks, Pat. Chris, do you have any questions?
No, I mean, it makes sense. And the only question I have is, you guys set these rates, the increase in rates, the amount of increase, is there some kind of formula for that? Or I mean, how do you come up with the percentage of increase amounts that you increase?
So, go ahead, Chief. I'll defer to you if you like.
I would just say that, I mean, there was no formula to come up with that, but we tried to keep the rate in close to the average. We didn't want to go up much higher than that. And again, it's not really it's not gonna save us, but it just definitely will stop the hemorrhaging a little bit. If we were gonna put the formula to it, I think it would have been much higher than that, the rate we'd have to put through if we did it by the formula.
Cool. Just wondering about the methodology.
Sure. Just to follow up a little more on that, Mr. Rowland. So what we tried to do, the board 3 years ago and prior to me becoming the town administrator, it had always been the will of the board to sort of stay in the middle or slightly higher, but never to be at the top. So what we did is we sort of looked at each of the categories. There's the BLS, ALS, ALS2, and the mileage. We identified what the middle was, and then we adjusted our rate to fall somewhere slightly higher than the 50, but not at the very top. The goal really was to cut our losses in half. And this increase, although it looks like it's a big increase, it will cut our losses in half. We'll still be losing money. Just we won't be losing the proverbial shirt.
Yeah.
And it's a public service. We have to provide the service.
No, absolutely. Like Patrick says, I mean, you got to go, right? I guess another point, and correct me if I'm wrong, is if this only affects 16% of the town that's not on Medicaid or Medicare, then a lot of those are capped with their insurance programs. Most of them are insured through private, whatever, insurance, whatever. Yeah. They're capped anyway, and the insurance company pays them out. You're
100% correct, Mr. Rowland.
So for most people, it's not an increase in cost for the most part.
It's just those 16%.
Out of pocket.
Right.
Yes. Okay. That's all I have.
Steve?
No, it makes sense. No questions.
Okay. So I know that I was here when we first implemented the rates, and I know that you've gradually increased them in a manner that's not ridiculous. You're doing it based on a formula that makes sense. So I completely agree that we should probably maximize it, but at the same time, we're not going to the max rate that we could charge. And that's what I really don't want to see that. I want to see us be fair and reasonable. So I think what you've proposed is fair and reasonable, and I appreciate all the questions. So I move to adopt the ambulance rates as proposed.
I'll second.
Motion's been duly made and second. A roll call is in order. Mr. Bradley?
Aye.
Mr. Rowland?
Aye.
Mr. Darcy?
Aye.
Unanimous vote to increase the rates for ambulance effective today as presented.
Next item, discussion and vote on formal townwide inventory policy.
And Mr. Chairman, if I may add, Christine's going to give a presentation.
I knew she was here for a reason.
Christine stepped up and she's decided to take on this monumental task of creating inventory policy. It's one of the things on the audit report that they've talked about, that we really need to have a much better system. Christine, when I approached and talked to her, she was very, I don't want to say excited, but she was very willing to take on the enormous challenge. She's put a lot of time and effort into it. We've had already an initial meeting with the DPW to really get this going. And she's here really tonight to go over what the policy is and what will be identified, how it will be tracked. And then we're looking for a vote of support from the Board of Selectmen. So with that, Christine.
Christie?
Okay, thank you very much. So a little background to this. As the town accountant, all the bills come through my office, and I realize we really don't have a formal policy or program to track these items. And also with the DPW move to the new building, I thought this would be a good time to start identifying and documenting their assets. And I believe that this policy is going to benefit the town's ability to manage and maintain the assets. And with that, I do have a PowerPoint that John's going to help me with. Thank you. So as an introduction to this, the town's inventory of assets represents a large investment of taxpayer resources. Documenting and tracking these assets is an important step needed to manage and protect the town's investments. And this policy will address which assets will be considered part of inventory control, who will be responsible for inventory control, and how the inventory will be tracked. And so I wanted to define what an asset will be. And so for purposes of this policy, the town assets are going to be broken into the following categories. So we first of all have capital assets. So those are items valued at $5,000 or more, useful life of greater than a year. And then if valued over $25,000, it's considered a fixed asset, and that becomes part of the fixed asset program and depreciated with the straight line depreciation method. Then we have light equipment, which would be equipment valued at $100 or more. So that's generally mechanized equipment, electronics, office equipment, furniture, etc. Has useful life of greater than a year. And then also I wanted to make note of what we're going to call small and attractive assets. And those are items valued at less than $100. But these are items that are susceptible to loss, theft, or misuse. So I do want to leave room to track them. Each of these categories will have their own standard operating procedure that's written to address the tagging, recording, maintenance, security, and disposition of these assets. So the responsibility for this tracking would be start with the departments. So department heads or an assigned representative will be responsible for management of the inventory items purchased by their department. Department staff involved in purchasing, consuming, or otherwise handling the inventory must be trained on these SOP guidelines by the department supervisors. The IT department's going to be responsible for all IT equipment, regardless of which department is using it. Each department should schedule and conduct their own physical inventories to best fit in with their department schedules and needs. The oversight of the inventory lists will be the responsibility of the department business manager, and any inventory discrepancies between the actual and recorded counts should be fully investigated. And some of the methods of tracking the asset inventory, depending on what we're looking at, would be assigning asset ID numbers, tagging inventory items, identifying locations that the items can be found. If inventory items are shared, a sign in or sign out sheet can be created. Inventory items out for repair should be documented. Periodically, we should be looking at obsolete, damaged inventory and decide which of those things can be disposed of. The disposition of the items should follow the town's policy on surplus property. Available software tools are to be used to manage the inventory database, and the database will be updated regularly to reflect additions, deletions to inventory levels. So what I'm hoping is that eventually, with a more sophisticated software system, that we can move on to tagging items with barcode tags and scanners, so that will make it a lot easier. So right now it's probably going to be like an Excel spreadsheet. And I've already sort of based this off of the auditor's review of the DPW assets, vehicles, machines, etc. And so I'm going to start with that group and sort of build this out into appropriate tracking for the other departments throughout the town. So I think that's about it. And I'll take any questions if there are any.
Thanks, Christine. That's I think a really good policy to implement and keep track of everything. So I don't have any questions. It makes complete sense to me. Chris?
No, I appreciate you taking the time to put that together, Christine. I think companies have this type of policy, and I think it's really important to, keep track of assets like this. So good stuff.
Thanks.
Steve?
Yeah, I think this is a great initiative to protect the taxpayer, and thank you for spearheading this, Christine.
Welcome. Right. Thank you.
So I move to adopt the town-wide inventory policy as proposed.
Second.
Motion's been duly made and second. A roll call is in order. Mr. Bradley?
Aye.
Mr. Rowland?
Aye.
Mr. Darcy?
Aye.
Unanimous vote to approve the town of Marshfield asset inventory control policy.
Okay, next up, Patrick. Discussing and vote direct deposit, mandatory direct deposit for all Marshfield employees.
Thank you very much, Chairman. The Treasurer's Office is asking the Board of Selectmen to exert its executive authority and make all town and school employees comply by March 31st, 2021 to have direct deposit. There are 94 out of 1,400 employees that still do not have direct deposit. It's problematic, especially during COVID-19, where we mail checks out and pay stubs out, and some individuals get checks and still to this day cash them before they are actually paid out on the warrant, which requires us to have multiple layers of sign-offs and all kinds of things that have to happen at the bank level, and it's on Christine's side and on my side. Our check and balance, it messes up, it causes more problems than it's worth. Then not to mention the folks that can't cash their checks for some reason, they lose their checks or they keep their checks and they draw, they forget about them, and then it goes through a tailings process, which again costs us money with advertising in newspapers, filing information with the state treasurer's office. It's just a headache and it's unnecessary. We've been talking about this now for a couple of years with the finance team. And we think the time's now, especially going into Munis, and with the board's vote tonight, by March 31st, anybody that is not on direct deposit, we will keep all the checks in my office, and to get your check, they'll be required to fill out a direct deposit form. Everybody will still have their check, they'll just have to sign up for direct deposit.
Pat, is there any reason you could see that somebody wouldn't want to do this? I mean, it's 2021, direct deposit's the norm.
I can't imagine. We've asked nicely, and the folks that are still the last of the holdouts, for whatever reason, I don't have an answer. But what we can do, I know factually, is that the checks can be issued. We have an employee portal, which the selectmen at town meeting have supported us to invest $85,000 into. So the pay stubs will all be electronic now, so we do not have to mail any information out. It will save the town approximately $9,000 annually on mailing out pay stubs, right? We've already invested in the technology. People can log into their portal and print out their pay stubs, right? So by eliminating these live checks, we no longer have to mail any information to any employees ever again, right? It's all in the cloud. It's all secured. It's all on our employee portal. And it's just, we're all trying to cut costs. I mean, Michael and I and our finance team spend every day, and I spend, it keeps me up at night trying to make everything work and think of creative ways to do this. this cuts 10 grand right off the top. I mean, it makes sense. And the folks will still get it when the folks, that don't want us to comply, well, the process will be is that the live checks will be held in the treasurer's office. In order for them to receive their paycheck, they'll have to fill out the direct deposit form by way of your vote tonight, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, makes sense to me. In particular, we're going paperless and saving money to do so. Chris, any questions?
I mean, just to play a little devil's advocate. So what if? So look, I totally support direct deposit, and I do direct deposit, and I work for companies that do direct deposit. But there are always going to be non-adopters who want a paper check. Either they don't have a bank account, or they don't understand. They don't. It just they're not comfortable with the internet, or they're not comfortable with the cloud, or what have you. What if someone doesn't have a bank account, Patrick? What happens then? And I know you probably think that everyone does have the one, but I would say there are people that literally don't have a bank account.
At that point there, I believe I do have a requirement to give them their paycheck, but it would be, at that point in time, I would initiate a discussion with Mr. Moresco, and we would take it through the procedure from there. And then, he can, we can sort of talk to the employee about, this is what we're trying to do, this is why, and spell this out. There will be exceptions all the time, of course. For instance, a lot of times when employees come on board, there's a lag time before the checking account gets active and stuff. Those situations are perfectly fine and acceptable. People's last checks, if they go to retire and they want their last paycheck, or they decide to leave town, I mean, we can always have the ability in my office to write out a manual check. I mean, it is the good thing about having a treasurer in your town. You can always write the check, but
it's more the exception than more the exception than the rule. I mean, I get that, and it's kind of like with the turnpike and Easy Pass. I mean, eventually everyone had to go to Easy Pass because there were no people taking money anymore, and I think that's kind of where it's going. I mean, eventually you kind of have to force the hand a little bit. So, and honestly, it's much easier and much more secure, like you said. So I think we just need to sell the positivity of it to these people and see what we can do. But I just wanted to know what the plan would be if someone just wasn't going to have direct deposit. So
we have to pay them by federal law. So
okay, cool. I'm done.
Steve.
No, it makes sense to me. No questions.
All right. So I make a motion to adopt the mandatory direct deposit for all Marshfield employees by groups. Do you want this date 3/31/21 in it?
By that, yes, please, Mr.
By
Chairman.
3/31/21.
Second.
Motion's been made and duly seconded. Roll call is in order. Mr. Bradley.
Aye.
Mr. Rowland.
Aye.
Mr. Darcy.
Aye.
Unanimous vote to select a mandatory direct deposit for all employee groups by 3/31/21.
Next item is Patrick's going to tell us the unbelievable distinction from biweekly to bi-monthly pay dates, and it's going to be quick.
Okay.
It's the same thing to me. I don't know what it is, but it seems like it's the same, but please explain it.
All we're asking to do is get paid two times a month, just like we do with all of our bills are effectively due monthly, and our payroll runs 26 weeks, which is not in line with, you can't divide that by 2 easily, which causes, it sounds silly, but it causes a multitude of issues when it comes to health insurance and insurance deductions and retirement deductions.
No, I know. I know there's a difference when you look at it annually, but when you look at it on this paper, it doesn't seem like there's any difference at all.
No, everyone's going to still get paid the same. But we do need your vote. As soon as if you guys could support this, we're going to work with payroll departments and townwide. And but the hope, I would like to just change this if I could to by changing the dates, not before, but anytime on or after 8/1/21 to allow the treasurer's office to pay employees on a bi-monthly basis. Would be, and this would also, this is a big thing. This is the going into a munis conversion. This will make our lives so much easier townwide for all our employees. Again, no one's losing any money whatsoever. It's just that all it's going to do is going to allow ease of access for how employees get paid and when they get paid. It's going to be on set dates.
And I know that. I just want to make sure that everybody knows you're not losing a pay period, correct, Pat?
Correct. You're not losing. You're going to get paid 24 times instead of 26, so your paycheck will actually increase. Okay, you just won't get the two what people call extra checks, which really aren't extra checks. But
All right, so they're going from 26 to 24 pay periods, and actually it's a benefit to them.
correct.
In terms
They're
of
going to get
taxes.
paid more in their check.
Okay, Mike, my only concern, even though I make fun of the issue, but this isn't a collective bargaining issue, is it, Mike?
I believe not, but we'll run it by Labor Council anyways. I mean,
Please run it by them.
yeah.
But I don't think it is either.
No.
And on that note, Chris, do you have any questions?
No, it's pretty typical. It's a planning issue. It just to point out that it's some in the the bi-weekly model. Some months you would get three pay periods, but what this does is just limits. It has 2 pay periods no matter how big the month is, right? So that's why it eliminates 2 pay periods. So many companies do this for the exact reason that Patrick said. So I'm good with it.
Steve?
Nope, no questions. Makes sense.
All right. Move to adopt changing the pay dates from bi-weekly to bi-monthly on or before 8/21/21. Is that what you wanted, the wording?
8/1/21.
On or after.
On or after 8/1/21.
If I could.
Move to adopt the changing pay dates from bi-weekly to bi-monthly on or after 8/1/21.
Second.
Motion's been made and duly seconded. Roll call is in order. Mr. Bradley?
Aye.
Mr. Rowland?
Aye.
Mr. Darcy?
Aye.
Unanimous vote to approve the bi-monthly pay period on or after 8/1/21.
Next one's pretty easy because you covered it earlier tonight, Michael.
Yes.
We need to spend some money to make sure our vaccine rollout
Yes.
is done properly. This is a vote to emergency spend or deficit spend.
Yes.
And send a letter to the DOR explaining it. I don't think you really need to explain it, but you can go ahead if you want.
But yeah, all this is doing, we're effectively going to set up the vaccine account. We've already worked with our accounting officer, Mrs. McCarthy, to establish this. The same procedures we had for the COVID-19 expenses, we're going to roll out for the vaccine expenses, exact same way. And with your vote tonight, Michael and I can send a letter off tomorrow to the state under Chapter 44, Section 31 for allowance deficit spend. With the successful allowance of that letter, we'll start spending.
Great. No questions. Chris?
No questions.
Steve?
No questions.
Okay, move to adopt the emergency spending for vaccine costs and allowance for deficit spending.
Second.
A motion's been made and duly seconded. Roll call is in order. Mr. Bradley?
Aye.
Mr. Rowland?
Aye.
Mr. Darcy? Unanimous vote to allow emergency spending for vaccination costs, allowance to deficit spend, and approval letter to be sent to the DOR.
And the last thing is vote to accept minutes of November 18th and January 4. Sorry, November 18th, 2020 and January 4, 2021. And January 6, 2020, I'm sorry.
Correct.
3. I don't know how I missed the first one, but go ahead.
Nope.
Any second on that
Correct.
motion?
Do we have the votes? That we were good?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
I'll second.
Okay, motion's been made and duly seconded. Roll call is in order. Mr. Bradley?
Aye.
Mr. Rowland?
Aye.
Mr. Darcy?
Aye.
All right. Mike, this is one of the longer meetings we've had, so when you were a selectman, I don't know what you guys were talking about till 11:30, 12:30 at night. I really don't.
It was a different time, more
I
discussion.
guess.
More discussion, less video?
Yes. Yeah, we actually didn't have, it was a big thing to have a video brought in.
Right.
Hey.
Do you want me to do my town administrator report?
Oh.
Let's do it very briefly, Mike.
I'll get through it real quickly. Week of January 4th, meeting with Patrick to review free cash expenditures. I had a meeting with Cindy Castro regarding demolition delay bylaw. I had reclassification hearings for 4 employees. We had the task force, collective bargaining with DPW, meeting with the lieutenant governor twice a month on COVID-19 issues, conference call with our town hall elevator project, senior center construction project with Page Construction, annual performance review for our facility director, emergency BOS meeting for the closure. We're now open. The building's now open at regular COVID hours. Meeting with building commissioner and Patrick to review building gas, electric permits on a monthly basis. Meeting with Christine to review the inventory you saw tonight. Karen Paulette's interview with Karen Potts, who was selected to be the new Assistant Veterans Officer. She'll start on February 1st. Meeting with Craig Jameson and Nancy Bowers to go over some programs for the spring. Week of the 11th, follow-up meeting with Christine on the tracking of the inventory. Meeting with Dave Carrier, DPW issues and capital projects, DPW collective bargaining, interviews, Board of Health for 2 part-time nurses. Meeting with Grant Rock residents regarding ongoing improvements in the Esplanade, including sidewalks, lighting, signage, beach access, solar lighting, joined by Selectman Darcy. Meeting with Collin Construction on the wrap-up of the elevator project and the punch list, as well as the tile out in the front area. COVID-19 weekly meeting with Dr. Irons, Chief Tavares, and Chief Hawking on setting up the vaccination at the fairground. Collective bargaining with DPW. Attended the Marshfield Chamber of Commerce annual meeting. Attended a CPC funding meeting to support the housing coordinators funding, talk about the senior housing project. Interview Board of Health Director with Danielle and Mark McDonald. Monthly meeting with mayors on COVID-19. Meeting with Patrick on final prep for warrant articles to be submitted for January 25th. Interview for local Board of Health Inspector with Danielle and Andrew Stewart for the building commissioner. Meeting with PMA on the police project and issues and milestones on that project. Meeting with Carol Hamilton regarding the senior center groundbreaking, which is set for this Friday, the 29th at 10 a.m. Meeting with Patrick to review DPW emergency spending projects and status of them. Meeting for the dog park. We installed the dog park sign, installation of the dog park. Quarterly insurance meetings with Jillian Mitchell from Maya on our risk management and safety committees, which departments, including the schools, participate in. Meeting with Matt Parent on PPA and pilot energy projects. Meeting with Patrick, Finance Director, regarding hardship cases and a policy. Meeting with Chief Tavares, Lieutenant Sullivan, and Patrick on upcoming beach issues. As you know, it's kind of early, but we're getting ready for the beach season. Meeting with Fussett O'Neill, Project Manager for the South River and Veterans Park Project, fish ladder, wall, etc. Dredging. Was at Duxbury High School to tour the clinic where our first responders received their vaccine. Week of the 18th, COVID-19 task force department head meeting to discuss a whole bunch of issues, including phone, dress codes, record management, morale, vaccine, and COVID testing. Marshfield DPW contract negotiations, round 4. Meeting with Attorney Zoli on the PPA, revisions to the pilot in the PPA. Matt Parent joined me at that meeting, and Patrick. Meeting with GNR Construction on the police station project. Fencing's down and DPW buildings getting ready to be taken down. Senior Center, Page Construction, we have weekly construction meeting. Meeting with No Fossil Fuel to work out necessary edits in the PPA and pilot. Meeting with Eversource, the police and the fire to discuss the LNG project that will be taking place in a couple of weeks. Breakfast meeting with Selectman Darcy, discuss some current issues. Meeting with Guardian Electric on the closeout of our present grants from Green Community and beginning the process for the new grant round. Weekly meeting with Fred Russell on updating on the maintenance projects, the school and the town side. If you go by Town Hall, we're installing the Hardy plank, which is guaranteed for 50 years, and additional insulation to the outside of the building. And attended the MMA and Maya meetings on Friday. That is my report, sir.
Thanks, Mike. I have no questions. Chris or Steve?
Oh, no questions. All good.
No questions.
Okay, Mike, just so you know, I got a late question in the chat box referring to the Pudding Hill issue from Michaela McLeod. So, Ms. McLeod, I think you can ask your question, but that item was discussed in executive session. So do you want to ask the question of, I'll probably refer you to the town administrator. You can, come on.
Okay, I apologize for not understanding that it was being discussed during executive session. I just wanted to reiterate, obviously, I represent the estate of Richard Topham. There's 3 MGL chapters.
Can I hold you off? Because we did discuss it in executive session. I think this is probably better suited for a conversation with Attorney Galvin and Mr. Maresco, just because we can't comment on it openly.
Okay, I mean, I did speak with Attorney Galvin this morning, and I guess I'm satisfied with knowing that there was a vote this evening. I apologize for holding you up, and I apologize for the confusion
You're not holding us
regarding
up.
that.
I just want to make sure you have the right info and that I know that Mr. Maresco can communicate the information to you along with Attorney Galvin. And what we did.
Thank you. I had spoken with Attorney Galvin, so I anticipate that your response from Mr. Maresco or from Attorney Galvin will be exactly as we had discussed earlier today.
Okay. Thanks.
Thank
Mr.
you.
Clark. Thank you. Take care. Okay, I move to adjourn tonight's meeting.
Second.
Motion's been made to adjourn. A roll call is in order. Mr. Bradley.
Aye.
Mr. Rowland.
Aye.
Mr. Darcy.
Aye.
Unanimous vote to adjourn. Good night.
Thanks, everyone. Take care.
Hi, guys.
Good, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Mike, can you please coordinate with Ms. McLeod?
I will. Yeah, we'll reach out to her tomorrow.
Thanks. Take care.
Thanks.